That's such a good tactical line to get them to go, I don't know anything. I'm not smart about this. You seem to be the expert. Educate me. It's giving
Yeah.
me full control. Okay, so let's fast forward. Calls booked. We're meeting with John and Betty tomorrow at 10 or 11, whatever. John had a day off, so he's meeting at 10 in the morning. Love it. Perfect. He's home. How does that go? What was it, a call, Zoom? I know you guys have a software you guys use. Um,
Yep. Crank
how does
wheel.
that process go? Say it again so
Yep.
everyone can write it down.
Crank wheel. It's called crank wheel.
Awesome.
Actually, I'll put a link in the chat here and y'all can just go there and sign up. It's super easy. I think it's free for like the first 30 days.
It's awesome.
But what it does is that you can share the screen. There's no app, nothing like that. They have to download. They can just click the link and they can see your screen. But usually on an appointment, we're on an IUL call, so I'll just use that as an example. Um, I call them up and I'm like, "Hey Grady, this is Shawn, just giving you a call for our IUL appointment." Um, Normally, what I like to do is just kind of open it up. What got you interested in the IUL? And then they'll start talking, right? People like to talk and they feel comfortable when they're talking. And it allows them to just start getting stuff out there. Well, I want to build cash value. I started watching videos. I saw this. My friend has one. I mean, they'll talk about everything, right? And then I just let them talk and I'll say, okay, tell me what you know about how an IUL works. And then I'll kind of fill in the blanks from there. How's that sound? Yeah, well, that's easy. I don't know anything.
Perfect. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so
which is a
then
good, that's such a good tact. What do you know about filet? What do you know about where rare filet in New York strip comes from? The cow. I mean, I don't actually know anything. That's such a good tactical line to get them to go, I don't know anything. I'm not smart about this. You seem to be the expert. Educate me. It's giving
yeah,
me full control. That's awesome.
yeah, exactly. They're giving me control to now start talking and teaching them and guide the way, right? Because the whole process, we want to control this conversation. So then what I do is I go into explaining the IUL and I compare it to a 401k. And the reason why I do that is just simply because most people know what a 401k is, right?
Yeah.
Most people are, there's some people that are familiar with an IRA, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, but most people aren't. That's why we have the 401k is because most of the people are in America are not financially savvy, right? So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'm going to kind of fill in the blanks from here if you don't mind. Yeah, 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 go ahead. So first and foremost, this is a life insurance policy. It's not an investment. And the reason why I specify that is because I get some clients that call me up and say, "Hey, Shawn, I want to invest in an IUL. And if it was an investment, then the IRS would tax you and you'd have the ability to lose money. We don't want to lose money, right? Nope. The other thing is this, if you were to, and I ask them, I said, "Do you know what a 401k is?" I do. Yeah. Okay. So with a 401k, let's say that you've generated $50,000. Okay. If you died the next day and you're under 59 and a half, your beneficiary would have to pay taxes on that and they would just get the 50,000. Okay. With an IUL, if you get approved and you pay that first payment, you die the next day, your beneficiary is going to get a substantial death benefit. And so it protects your family if you die. It also protects your family if you qualify for living benefits. It protects you while you're still alive. If you get hurt, you get sick, you get injured, it protects you. You can pull from the death benefit while you're still alive, which in turn protects your family because you're a breadwinner of the family. And does that make sense? Yes. I'm always asking them along the way, does that make sense? Or I'm using the word right. And so I'm getting them to give me some little feedbacks along the way. And then I'll say it works like this. Since it's insurance, you make your payment every single month. just like car insurance, just like homeowners insurance, just like your cell phone insurance. But the way it works is this: a portion of that payment goes to the cost of insurance. That's what gives you the death benefit, it gives you the living benefits, what makes it a life insurance policy. So it's what keeps Uncle Sam's hands out of it when you take out loans. On the other side of that, that same payment, a portion of that goes to a cash accumulated value account. It's just another name for a cash account. And what that money is, it's indexed with the market, not in the market. And then they're kind of starting to think a little bit, and you can hear the silence.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, okay, let me kind of slow down here and explain this a little bit deeper, because this is where the clients get a little bit confused. And I'll say your 401k is in the market. When the market goes up, everybody's happy, hunky dory, and living life, right? But when the market's going down, you hear a bunch of complainers that have a 401k, right? With an IUL, you participate in the gains, you do not participate in the losses. So the market goes up 12%, you get 12%. The market goes up 9%, you get 9%. If the market drops below zero, you get to keep everything that you got while everybody lost everything. Okay. And then I'll say, I use an example to kind of drill in the point. And after I demonstrate this, they're like, oh. And so what I say is, let's imagine you have $100,000 in a 401k and you have $100,000 in an IUL. And the market drops 10%. How much do you have in your 401k? And it'll kind of get them to start thinking. And then they're a lot, and then I get to figure out how well that they know how to do math. And a lot of them, finally, I'll just tell them, you got $90,000 left. But how much do you have in your IUL? And they'll say 100,000. And then I'll say, okay, now the very next year, the market goes up 10%, same amount that it went down. Now, how much do you have in your 401k? What do you think everybody's answer is?
100,000.
Yeah, but that's wrong.
Correct.
10% of 90,000 is 9,000. So you only have 99,000 in there. And then they're like, oh, and I'll say, how much do you have in your IUL though? And they'll say 110,000. And I'll say, exactly. That's the whole purpose of not losing money. The market did the same thing on both scenarios in a 401k as it did in an IUL. And you have an $11,000 gain just from not losing any money. And then here's the best part. I ask them, do you know who Warren Buffett is? And they'll say, yeah, I know who doesn't know who Warren Buffett is, right? And I'll say, do you know his first two rules of investing? And number one is never lose money. Number two is always refer back to rule number one. And then they're like, oh, and then I just go into, well, do you mind if I just ask you some questions here to see if you even qualify for a product like this? And then I'll go through the financial inventory.
It's awesome. Wow. Smooth, man. Smooth. There, I mean, it's just so simple and smooth. Asking questions, getting them call and response, educated on the product. They're doing the math themselves. And I love it. I love it. Anything else in that's for the financial inventory? Or I know you've got some illustrations you wanted to show as well. So um, do you do
So,
anything tactical in there? Trying to find
what's that?
tactical. Do you do anything tactical with the financial inventory, asking income or asking expenses, golden question type stuff to find?
Um, right after I go through the financial inventory, I'll schedule another appointment because I found I used to do one call closes. Right when I get on there, I'll just go for the close, and that'll take about 2.5 hours. And some people are like that. They want to get it all done right then and there. But very rarely that happens. And so what I'll do is right before we schedule, I'll say if I know they'll qualify, I'll say the next step is to run an illustration. And then from there, I'll say what I need from you before I can do that is two numbers. Um, and then I kind of make sure that they understand that, with an IRA, the most you can put in is $7,500 a year if you're over 50. Big whoop. What's that going to do for you? I have clients that put in $1,000 a month, $2,500 a month, $4,500 a month. And obviously the more you put in, the more cash value you can have, I can show you for retirement. So I need to know this. What is the max you would want to put in? And then what is the minimum you would want to put in? And I need to know that right now so that I can prepare for you and get something for you put together. And then they'll give me a number, whatever that is, and then I'll run that illustration based off the max amount.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we just go into a illustration.
But you book, so
And
you have the appointment setting call, you have your fact finding call, which you did, and then on the financial inventory, you're finding out health as well to find out if is it even possible they can qualify for it.
yeah.
And then
So,
you're booking another call. How soon? Are you trying to book it later that day, the next day? You know, try whatever as soon as possible, right?
so just to be clear, the first call after when I book the appointment, the first call, I call it the information stage and the qualification stage, right? And then after that, you have the illustration stage and the application stage, right? And then you're done, right? And you go
Got it.
through underwriting. So on the first call is just the information stage and the qualification stage. Then I book the next appointment.
Cool.
And then I jump into the next call and I try to answer your question, Grady, I try to book it as soon as possible. The longer you wait, the more they're going to think about it. And the more people do research and then they're going to talk themselves out of it, right? And they'll see one little negative thing and then all of a sudden that's a good reason not to show up for the appointment. So we want to book them as soon as possible because once we show them the illustration, then it's like, oh, this thing is real, right? This is going to be a really good thing for the rest of my life because now it's going to cover this, and this and protect me and my family. But I also get to grow cash value and it's going to be tax free. Right.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do an illustration or what do
Yeah.
you?
I'd love it. If you have one you want to share, or we can do one live on two scenarios, someone young and someone older. And
Okay.
my biggest obsession with it is the tax-free retirement income. I think sometimes people don't illustrate that the best, and we've got you on, so I'd love to have you kind of show how you do it, how you explain it, how you walk them through the illustration, maybe points you touch on throughout the page that you know are key to your success.
Okay. So we're
Awesome.
just
All right.
gonna, I ran one here for Oscar T. the Grouch,
I
and he's
love it.
30 years old. He's not an old man. He's growing into the grouch. He's 32 years old. And what we're gonna do here, we run everything under. Now, once you get better at it and you find out, oh, well, this person has some health problems, you can click on this underwriting guide right here and it'll pop up in another link. And then you can push on Command F and then type in there diabetes or I think it's Control F if you have a regular one, and then it'll, whoops, Command F. Oh, it disappeared. I don't know
Was
why it
there?
didn't do that. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
There we go.
And then if there's anything in the thing in the underwriting guide that says diabetes, it'll pull it up. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of jump into this, but if you have a lower rating, you can click on this and put in the lower rating and it'll illustrate it that way. I had a guy that was overweight and so I had to change the rating just to show him.
Sure.
But first and foremost, as a new person, you would run everybody at standard non-tobacco. And if they come back with a higher or lower rating, you can tell them at that time. You just prepare your client after that. Then what I'm going to do here is I run minimum death benefit, max cash value. This would be somebody that wants to grow their money tax-free in retirement. Not somebody that is protection focused over here where they want a higher death benefit and a lower cash value. Then right here, let's say they want to put in $500 a month. I'm
Okay.
going to run this to retirement unless they tell me otherwise. I had one guy that says, you know what, I want to retire at age 60. So I put in 60 and then that's all they're going to pay that premium till. Then down here for distribution, you have some drop downs here. And we're going to solve for income because they want a tax-free retirement. Now, one thing that I like to do is this is distribution. You can show a higher distribution if you don't go out as many years as possible. Now, the A stands for age, starts at age 66, and M stands for maturity. Maturity is done at age 121 years old. Now, chances are you're probably not going to live that long. So I ask them a question. How old has mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, great grandma and grandpa lived? Who lived the longest? And they'll tell me, well, I think the oldest one lived till 75 or 85. And so then I'll just say, okay, well, just in case you take a live longer pill, I'm going to run this to age 95.
Okay.
And so that way you can see what the income will do at age all the way from 66 to age 95, about 30 years. Okay. Then what we'll do is I'll click on quick view over here just to kind of check the numbers a little bit. And then I notice my numbers are pretty good. Now, this is kind of not really sexy. So I like to run the report, which takes about 2 seconds, usually when there's not a pop-up blocker. And then I run it, and then I just kind of explain to them. So NLG is the name of the carrier. They've been around for 150 years. Okay. Here's Oscar de Grouch. Is that spelled the correct way? Yep, it is. Okay, we're going to touch base on these 3 puzzle pieces right here. What if I die too soon? What if I become ill? And then the major question that most people give me, especially if they're in their 50s and 60s, is what if I outlive my money? That is the major concern that most retirees have. So that's the reason why most people come to us. So by starting the policy with $500 a month, right off the bat, you're going to get a death benefit of $438,000. So if you remember me talking to you about the 401k, if it took you 10 years to build up 50K, that's all your beneficiary is going to get. Here, day one after you make the first payment, they're going to get a substantial death benefit of $438,000. Okay. Then here's some cash value that's going to accumulate. I'm going to go over that in detail here in just a little bit. What I like about NLG is they have really, really good riders that come with the policy. If you become terminally ill in 24 months or less, you get a lump sum over $500,000. And the way I try to build this, as a side note here, the way I do this is I build value by talking about big numbers. It's all about what you say and how you say it, right? Because they can't see your face, they can't read body language. So it's what you say and how you say it. I'm not going to say you get a lump sum of 589,000. I'm going to say you actually get a lump sum of over $500,000, right? Because it's a bigger number. It builds a
Yeah.
little bit better value.
Yeah.
Chronic illness, if you can't perform 2 of the daily 6 living activities, you get a monthly paycheck of 11,000, almost 12,000. Critical illness, over $500,000 lump sum. Critical injury, over $500,000 lump sum. And this is the only company that I know of that has an Alzheimer's disease rider. I have my mother-in-law lives with us, and I tell them a story about my mother-in-law. She has Alzheimer's, so it's like Groundhog's Day every day at my house, right? And so this would come in handy if you come down with Alzheimer's. So then I come down here and I explain this a little bit, this is everything that I just went over right here. The critical injury and critical illness is based off the level of life expectancy after the event happens. At age 55, if you have cancer and you're expected to live a long time, you may not get the 357,000. You may get a smaller amount, right? At age 65, you have a heart attack and they have to crack your chest open and they think you're going to die in a couple of years. You may get a full benefit. Whereas if you're going to live for a long time, you may get a smaller amount, right? So that's kind of how that works. Do you have any questions on that? And along the way, I'm asking them, do you have any questions on that? And when they tell me no, that's permission that, yes, you can move forward. I completely understand, right? That's what they're telling me. when I ask that. Then we scroll down here. I talk a little bit about the indexes. Once we get through all the jargon. And then I talk about the US Pacesetter point-to-point growth weight. And I let them know that I like to put all of my clients in this index because this one is real numbers. And then over here are the numbers that you would have had if you would have had this index at that point in time. This is a 20-year look back all the way to 2004. Now, the reason why I like this index for my clients is because it's a point-to-point, no cap. And what that means is there's some clients that, or some carriers that have a cap on their IULs, meaning that like Mutual of Omaha, they have a 9.25 cap on their IULE. And if the market does 13%, you're only going to get 9.25. Well, in this one, you can go a lot higher. It also has a 235% participation rate. And what that means is it answers the question, how much of my cash value is participating in this interest? So I like to think about it as like a supercharger. It's going to supercharge your interest and give you this amount right here. So let's kind of take a look at some of these numbers here. If you had this in 2004, you'd have 29.78, even though the market did 12.67, right? 2008, the market dropped. Zero is your hero. You didn't lose anything while everybody else did. 2010, 14%, you get 33%. 2022, everybody lost about 15 to 20% in their 401ks, IRAs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You are the hero because you got zero, right? And then this is the most important. This is a 5-year look back average, 10-year look back average, 15-year look back, and it goes to 20. If you can see with the participation rate, they all did about 14.2%, 14.9, somewhere between 12 and 14%. Any questions on that? No. Okay, great. Moving on down the road. So then I'll come down to this, and this is the way I explain this. This is your guaranteed illustrated value. We're going to spend a little time here. Then I'm going to spend a little time on the alternative, and then we're going to spend most of our time on the current illustrated value right here. Okay, so let's go back up here. Now this is your guaranteed illustrated values, and guaranteed is exactly what it means. This is what if the market were to do nothing over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Now the best part about it is the most years in a row that the market's dipped is for 2 years in a row. Okay, but this is worst case scenario. This is Armageddon. This is, worst case scenario. My mom and dad always taught me, and I tell them this, that my mom and dad always taught me that if you have a tough decision to make and you don't know what to do, think about what is worst case scenario. And if you can live with that, then go ahead and do it. And so after 10 years, you'd have 60,000 in there paying $500 a month, and you'd have 41,700 of cash value. Okay, we're going to scroll down here, and that's all the time I spend on that. And then right here, this is your alternative current illustrated value. And so the state of Nebraska says that I need to show you an alternative rate that's lower than the current rate. And that is 3%. So what if the market did exactly 3% every year for the next 10, 20, 30 years? Still, you got 60 grand in there. Now you have cash value of 49,770. That's if the market did 3%. Okay. Now over here, we're going to spend most of our time here. And this is where I kind of dive a little bit deeper, and I'll explain the 3 columns. Right off the bat, here's your death benefit. You probably know what that is. That's self-explanatory. You can see you're going to get 438,000, forever. It's going to stay level. This is your accumulated value account. This is how much cash you have into the policy right now out of every portion of the monthly payment that you make. Remember, the smaller portion of that goes to this cost of insurance that gives you the almost $500,000. And the larger portion of that payment goes to this cash value account. Okay. Now, right here is the amount that you have left to borrow from. Okay. So that's what the cash surrender value is. Okay. Now, after 10 years, again, you got 60 grand in there. Look at this. You got $59,714. Now, after 10 years, you can probably do the math. 60,000 minus 59,714. That equals almost free. Okay. So now you have a death benefit and you have living benefits almost free. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Then I come down here and I'll say, okay, after 20 years, you're going to be 51 years old. You have 120,000 in there. Now look, now you're killing it and you're making some money. 185,000 in cash value. Now, what's cool about this is this company doesn't recognize a loan being taken out. So what does that mean? Well, this cash value account right here keeps going up. Even though, let's say that you're 51 years old and you're like, you know what? I'm going to splurge a little bit. I'm going to become a bass fisherman and take out $100,000 to go buy a bass boat. So now you have 85,000 left in there and you have 185,000 of cash value. Guess what? You're going to like this because you're compounding interest off of this number because it doesn't recognize that there's only 85,000 left in there. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, see? You fall right into it, Grady. Works every time. So then now you're 61 years old, 180,000. Now you got almost a $500,000
Wow.
in there in cash value. Now your death benefit's going up. Why is your death benefit going up? You know why? And they'll say, I don't know. And I'll say, because this is a life insurance policy. If your cash value grows larger than your death benefit, then what happens is the government says, the IRS says, oh, this is an investment. Give me some tax money. But since your death benefit is higher than your cash value, it's not an investment. It's a life insurance policy. So that's going to continue to go up as long as you have cash value in there. Now, here we go. You're 65 years old. This is the last year you're ever going to have to pay on this. And now you're in your golden years. Look, there's zero coming out every single year. Okay. Now, right at your 65-year mark, you got over a $500,000 in the policy in cash value. You're about ready to retire. Next year, you don't pay money. Now they give you money. $52,000 a year, tax free. Now look at this. You're 71. You got 6 years into this, and you've already taken out $312,000. You've only got 204,000 into it. You still have almost $500,000 left. So you have choices now. And that's why we love these policies. I call them a financial pocket knife because they're just like a pocket knife. They have multiple purposes. You can say, you know what? I'm going to keep growing this thing like crazy and just let it ride and keep getting a paycheck for the rest of my life. Or when you're 81 years old, you've already pulled out 832,000. Your kids are all grown up. You have grandkids now. You've only paid in 204,000, but look, you got 309,000 left in there. You can say, you know what? I think I'm done with the policy if you want to, and surrender the cash value and take out 309,000, and you would have pulled out from this policy over $1.1 million in this policy. Now, if you do surrender the value, they will tax you on that. That's a taxable event. Okay. You're not going to be taxed if it's a loan. So this covers you all the way up to 121 years old. If you live that long, you'll have $5.6 million in there. And then you've only paid in 204. And I'm going to tell you a secret here. If I was, 99 years old, I'd cash out and I'd take the money and run, because your grandkids are going to be older than your dog right now. Um, do you like the IUL?
It's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, great. So the next step, all we have to do is to submit a request to the carrier, and then we'll see if we can even get you approved. So then I just jump into the application and go from there. That's my close. I'll just ask them, do you like the IUL? Yes. Okay,
That's
let's
awesome.
fill out an application, see if we can even get you approved.
All right, drop an SS in the chat below to show Shawn some love. That was absolute incredible. So, okay, they're hook, line, and sinker. I mean, you're talking a 30-year-old, 500 bucks a month. If at that age you either are living on your mom's couch or you've got a job, you might be have a partner. Maybe you got a kid, maybe you don't, but 500 bucks a month for your retirement is a definite number that someone at that age, I mean, even if so, say you're making $60,000 a year, that's $5,000 a month. That's 10% of your monthly income saving for your retirement. If that number is not approachable, that person should probably get a license and start selling life insurance with us, right?
Yeah,
But in that capacity, like we're talking about 10% of your monthly income put into this product. You pay for 33 years and take out $52,000 a year for 30 years with the death benefit attached still. I mean, Shawn, it's incredible product. You describe you explain it as simple as buying steaks, and it makes it really approachable, man. That was awesome.
well, the other thing about that, I just want to comment on that, Grady. Most people are taking that amount of money at 32 anyways and putting it into a 401k.
Yeah,
And some of them are getting a match, some of them are overfunding it, and so they can what I find is a lot of them what they'll do is if their company's matching them 3% and they're putting in 10%, they'll take out the 7% that they're overfunding it with and put it into an IUL.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, Shawn, thank you. What is any final closing words you have for the client? And then any final closing words you have for our agents that have joined us today?
Um, for the client, usually I just let them know that, once we submit the request, then it takes about 2 to 6 weeks to get them approved. Now, sometimes they're super healthy, and I'll just let them know you may, out of some rare ordinance, get approved within a couple of days because you're healthy, but usually it takes about 2 to 3 days to get approved. Um, as far as the agents are concerned, here's what I like to tell all of my agents, 3 words, and my agents are going to be like, oh, not again, because I say it all the time. Massive imperfect action. And the reason why I say massive imperfect action is because the imperfect part of it gives your brain the ability to relax and say it's okay to make mistakes. But the massive action part of it overcomes those mistakes because you're literally doing it over and over and over again. In order to master your craft, you have to do things over and over and over again. I mean, if you want to become a master at anything, you have to do something 10,000 times, they say, right? It's
Correct.
going back to riding a bike. You're not going to be able to do tricks on the bike just getting on it the first time. But after you've ridden it for a week or two, you can start doing jumps and you can start, um, you know, doing wheelies, doing whatever, right? But we have to take massive, massive imperfect action to do anything in this world. And that's going to make you better. And practice makes perfect. The more illustrations you run, the more you're going to get better at IULs. And once you feel comfortable, you're like, I got this, start running appointments. It's that simple. Just buy some leads and run appointments.
It's awesome.
Fail forward.
It was a pleasure, guys. Light it up with some more SSs down there. Show Shawn some love. Show him some appreciation for all he's shared.